I'm your host, Sheldon Alexander, and we are fully into playoff mode. The Stanley Cup playoffs are underway. The NBA second round is into high gear, and the record against the spread on the pod still chugging along. The Miami Heat lead their series 2-0 over a Joel Embiid-less Sixers squad. Following a 119-103 loss Wednesday night, series shifts to Philly on Friday. Still no word on if Embiid will play, but Doc said in his postgame he hasn't gone through any of the protocols yet, right? So he hasn't gone through he hasn't completed any of the things that he needs to complete to be able to play yet. And again, as we're recording this, it's Thursday. Chris Haynes, in his post game on TNT, said that he texted with Joel Embiid on Wednesday, and Embiid said it was the first day he was able to use a phone because the light was too bright. He wasn't able to look at his phone before Wednesday. Now, with all that said, we are familiar with the work of Joel Embiid, and I got bubble guts, and I had diarrhea, and I didn't sleep last. We've heard all these stories from Joel Embiid before. Likes to add a little extra spice onto his injuries. Not saying he's not hurt, but he's just adding a little extra spice. My guess is that Joel Embiid does play, and honestly, it doesn't matter. I think he's too hurt at this point. Whether you're talking orbital bone, whether you're talking the finger stuff, I wouldn't like Joel Embiid and the Sixers in this series healthy. Joel Embiid banged up or not playing. No chance. Been riding the Heat on this series so far. You head into Friday's game. The line is Sixers -1, which is a very interesting line considering, if there's no Joel Embiid, there's nothing that tells me the Sixers have any chance in this series. I don't know how this goes past 5 with or without the injured Joel Embiid. So I'm still on the Heat. Give me the Heat +1 in this next game 3 Friday night in Philadelphia.
So I can't even tempt you with some +600 on the series price for the 76ers. Can't even tempt you there.
0% chance.
Just looking at this line real quick, right? So this is a halfway, I think, line. This is a lean towards Embiid not being in, which sounds, based on what you've just nicely laid out for us, sounds about right, because we had a -8 situation with the Heat. You're right. You flip home court. I don't think we're giving 4 points for Miami home court advantage. I don't think I'm ready to give 4 points for a Philadelphia home court advantage. So we can't get to pick them, right? We can't get to pick them unless Embiid is back. But if Embiid is back, he certainly means more than 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, right? We're probably looking at closer to, as we evaluated it, what a Luka Doncic, for example, is worth, which, appears to be something along the lines of 6 to 6.5 points. So, if Embiid was back, then we would have a couple extra points here, right? We would have a Philadelphia -3 type of situation. This would be a lot like some of these other series that go from, even just the other one in the East that go from Boston -4 to Milwaukee -3, right? That would be the toggle back and forth, right? Now, obviously, they're in a hole from a series standpoint where they need to win 4 out of the next 5 games. And that's obviously not, probably not going to happen, especially if Embiid doesn't play here. So just sort of worth mentioning that once we get a clearer picture of Embiid, whether he's in or out, it could go one way or another. So if you don't think Embiid is going to play, I'd grab the Heat right now at essentially a pick 'em, knowing that once that gets, announced, they're obviously going to go probably to a -2, something along those lines. Would that even matter in the end, right? You don't seem to think that it even would if it goes to -2 with Embiid being announced as out. So listen, this feels to me like just sort of steer clear type of thing. But if you were going to get tempted into the Sixers, I think you would have to just kind of go all the way as far as just grab the +600, hope they win this next game. And if they win this next game, right, it's an indicator that they'll probably be favored in the next game. And then you're sort of, you're just sort of minimal investment, if you will, in sort of this series being interesting. And at 2-2, obviously with, I imagine if it's 2-2, it probably means Embiid is back and the Sixers are sort of back to full strength. At that point, now we're talking about value, type of situations there with the series price, where it's probably a lot closer to a pick 'em. Obviously, Miami would still be favored. given that they would still have home court advantage, but you'd be sitting pretty with plus 600. So if you are thinking about the Sixers, I think I would just take the series price and hope that all of this is subterfuge. I don't believe a word that Joel Embiid is saying. I don't even know that Doc Rivers at this point believes a word of what he's saying based on how he's treated the absence of Joel Embiid and DeAndre Jordan's minutes and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say about that whole series.
Yeah, Joel Embiid is going to play, and I would assume he plays on Friday, but he's definitely going to play in this series because just for the pop of the crowd at home, him stepping up on the court, like he's doing that just for the Instagram memes for sure. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you think of someone who refers to themselves as Joel Embiid, right? He is definitely going to come out on the crowd. But yeah, as mentioned, nothing indicates to me this series going past 5. Harden can't be the guy anymore. Tobias was never that guy. And Tyrese Maxey is still too young to be that guy. Depth was a problem before they lost their best player. So no chance. I mean, and you mentioned dusting off DeAndre Jordan and Paul Millsap. Nope. Not going to be able to do it.